go. So frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV Big Box, I am your host, Frank Agam. Live from the Hasselson Studio on Marcus Street. What a morning to be joining us. I will, in full disclosure, be talking about Trump v. Musk, the battle of the century. It's not going to be the whole show because we do have other things to cover. I know the media is focused on this. They like it for numerous reasons. Of course, one being that they can attack Trump. Now, all of a sudden, huge fans of Musk again. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the program. But let's first go to our Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where they bring us viewer comments. This is our section where we read viewer comments. Steuben Senior Services, empowering seniors to age at home. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. The big, beautiful bill is now the big, beautiful brawl. I like that. The two kings are bashing each other. Trump is hitting Musk's wallet, and Musk is hitting Trump with the Epstein files. It's a war going on. Yes, it sure is a war going on. One that the media, it's one of the most kind of predictable. They're calling it a breakup. It was only a matter of time. I think most of us have felt that way. I think one thing it shows to me, and it's in no way suggesting Elon Musk is not a smart individual. Obviously, clearly, he is a very brilliant man. Having said that, he is not brilliant politically. He is falling into traps that people have fallen into for centuries, being used as a pawn by people that he does not support, by people that are just using him to further the agenda that he would not support. He's biting off a little more than he can chew. I think we saw that a little bit during the campaign. Some of the things he said and some of the things he did at various rallies and speeches signaled me, and I had these conversations in private, so I won't mention some of the people's names, but having that conversation that he's not there politically. Again, not taking away his smarts, but political smarts and book smarts are very different things, or even technological smarts, very different things. And I think this is a very good display of how different political smarts can be, because he just does not have them. He is being used by the exact people he does not want to be used by. He's also making moves like threatening a third party and firing Republicans that it's like a temper tantrum, what he's doing, but I don't want to downplay it with that because I know it's more serious than a temper tantrum, and I'm not using that term as an insulting term, to just insult him and throw away this kind of hyperbole. It's more to say that he is maybe the old saying, shooting first and asking questions later. He's saying things that are going to come back to haunt him, already are haunting him in many ways, with Tesla stock plummeting at a time when he does not need that. I have, and maybe we'll get to it later on, a major investor in Tesla, an early investor, saying, great, another, and I'm paraphrasing, but great, another way to hurt Tesla and hurt our investments. So he's not only hurting himself on the political front, but in doing that, hurting himself on what he was supposed to be focused on when he ended his special government employment, which was rebuilding his brand. Not helping. So it's almost one of these take a breather, think these through. He does not seem to be that kind of person. So we can start, and we're gonna talk about it more in depth. I do have some breaking stories that I want to get to before we really dive into it. But CNN put together what they deem to be the ugliest things said about each other during this spat. Trump originally saying, it was funny, I printed out an article yesterday, probably around noon, 1 o'clock. I said, I'm going to want to talk about that on tomorrow's program, naively. not realizing how much would change. But it was some of Trump's response to Musk's very original comments about the big, beautiful bill. Trump saying he hasn't said anything about me that's bad. I'd rather have him criticize me than the bill. Well, don't worry, President Trump, that came out much later. So Musk, probably the biggest bomb, which was a word that he used that was made yesterday, was linking Trump to Epstein. Musk really went there, is how CNN put it in their journalistic style, accusing the Trump administration of withholding information about disgraced financier and convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein because it invokes Trump himself, saying, quote, time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT, Donald J. Trump. Again, giving himself a little bit too much power by even suggesting that this is going to hurt Trump's day. I mean, that have a nice day, Donald J. Trump. It is an awkward, and I understand why they're using the term. I wouldn't normally encourage the term, but a breakup, because it is very, I don't know the word I want to use to describe how Musk comes off looking at this. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I know we have big Musk fans, but I know we've had people from the beginning that didn't like Musk. So it would be interesting to hear your opinion on it. And if you are new to the show, you see the number on the bottom of the screen. Reach out at any time. But that have a nice day, Donald J. Trump, as if he just shook the world. And I don't really believe that did so, but okay. He later added, mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. Now, Musk did not detail how he would have gained access to the unreleased files, and the inclusion of a person's name in files related to the case does not by itself indicate that they have been accused of any wrongdoing. Carolyn Levitt called Musk's claim an unfortunate episode from Elon, who is unhappy with the one big beautiful bill because it does not include the policies he wanted. The president is focused on passing this historic piece of legislation and making our country great again. Yes, Trump is focused on the country. Elon clearly is focused on himself at this point. And there's a lot of reasons you can believe, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Some believe it's a combination of all, but you're talking about the ending of subsidies for electric vehicle purchases that would hurt Tesla. You have perhaps, and this is speculation, he wanted to stay on as that special government employee past 130 days, and Trump basically said no, not firing him necessarily, as Bill Kristol put it, but just not re-upping his contract, so to speak. There's also some other kind of palace intrigue that people are suggesting. But again, tweeting that unnecessary because people have known about Trump's proximity, if you will, to Epstein at one time. That was something that the left pushed. It was tough for them to push because, of course, Bill Clinton's very well-known ties to Epstein. But they would show pictures at times. And so it's not breaking news. And Trump has talked about it in the past. Then Musk took a shot at Trump's election win. Trump claimed he would have won the crucial state of Pennsylvania, even without Musk's help. But Musk, who spent hundreds of millions of dollars to campaign for Trump, shot back that he was in fact the reason Trump won the presidency. Quote, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Democrats would control the House and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude. This is where I strongly disagree with Musk. I think Musk really put the money aside. The money, of course, always important. But putting that aside, saying that he campaigned for him, he really was a liability in many instances during the campaign. The odd statements that he made, it's why many people believe the allegations that there was heavy drug use by Musk at the time. He has denied that, but that's why many people believe that there is some grain of truth there, because you even remember the weird dances and the weird things that he would say. Never mind, and I believe, though, this was after the campaign, but when people accused him, and I think wrongly accused him, but of making the Nazi salute But again, I think some of these are instances of him being too clever by half. The same with what we're seeing here with these tweets. Too clever by half, thinking he's politically, remember, I'm not downplaying his smarts, but thinking that he is politically smarter than he actually is. And I think now he has bitten off more than he could chew. I don't think, I think there's some kind of reconciliation maybe at some point. I think Trump, if you see the way he's been responding to this, and even the press secretary Karen Leavitt is responding to this, almost secretly laughing at the childness of this and the lack of impact that this is having. That's not to say the media is not covering it extensively, and they will continue. But the only thing this does is hurt the causes that Musk, or attempt to hurt the causes Musk supports, and it also creates the people that hated him, called for horrible things to happen to him, now saying, see, I like him. Is that what you want now? Keep in mind, there's a lot in the political world that do want that. There's been a lot of Republicans specifically that have almost like a Stockholm syndrome, saw the people that hated them in the media and wanted to be liked by them. So they'll say, I don't support Republicans, or this Republican's bad. You know, the Liz Cheney kind of idea, the Mitt Romney. We can keep going on and on. So that's a little bit of what I think we're seeing here, and that's why there seems to be almost a little bit of a laugh or a little bit of a shaking of the head at the pathetic nature of some of these tweets that Carolyn Leavitt and Trump have in response to Musk's tweets. But your thoughts on Trump not winning the election if Musk wasn't involved? I do believe, and there was times on this program where we really had that discussion where was Musk a liability? Not, again, because of the money. The money, of course, important. But again, at the end of the day, is the money the most important thing? I don't know. Almost $2 billion spent by Kamala Harris. It didn't help her. And I think when you had a candidate like Harris, Trump was bound for success. I don't think anybody expected the amount of success he would have. But to suggest that he would lose the election, I think, is overhyped. But they're saying in the media that that's a huge issue because we know the importance of winning to Donald Trump. Then, the other big takeaway, Trump suggested Musk is out for himself. Elon's upset because we took the electric vehicle mandate, and, which was a lot of money for electric vehicles. He only developed a problem when he found out I could cut the EV mandate. Then later tweeting on Truth, Musk went crazy. Musk sought to call Trump's bluff, encouraging lawmakers to keep the EV subsidy cuts but trim spending. Whatever, Musk said, keep the EV solar incentive cuts in the bill, even though no oil and gas subsidies are touched, very unfair. But ditch the mountains of disgusting pork in the bill. He then pointed to past comments in which he actually discouraged lawmakers from enacting EV tax cuts. He also pointed to a clip in which Trump himself said that Musk had never asked me for a thing. Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky said some politicians get into politics to enrich themselves. Maybe that's why they can't imagine someone would judge a bill based on what's good for the country instead of what's good for their wallet. That was a tweet that Massey had made, and Musk promoted it. Now, this is some type of dig at Trump, suggesting that Trump's trying to benefit financially. We also saw at one point in this war that he retweeted a call for impeachment against Trump. Trump's comments have to this point been largely suggestive about Musk's motives, but Musk has clearly taken offense. Yes, he's blowing things out of proportion. Saying yesterday, this is Trump, I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden, he has a problem with it. But he knew every aspect of the bill. He knew it better than almost anybody, and he never had a problem until right after he left. Now, Musk responded that that was false. The bill was never shown to me even once. It was passed in the dead of the night so fast that almost no one in Congress could even read it. That's suggesting there wasn't that gap, though, from the House to the Senate. So I think that's a little misleading by Musk as well. So Musk leaned into the power struggle, responding to an ex-user who noted lawmakers are feeling pressure to pick a side. Musk said, and some food for thought as they ponder this question. Trump has 3.5 years left as president, but I would be around for 40 plus years. In other words, tread carefully. I have a lot of money and a lot of time. Okay. Then Trump floated cutting Musk's government contracts. Terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts would really save money, he said, with Musk saying, go ahead, make my day, in another kind of awkward response. Musk later said he would begin decommissioning a key spacecraft. Now it remains ugly, and don't think for a moment, and if you see any updates on it as the show unfolds, I'm going to be checking myself, because I think we will be seeing updates frequently, and I don't want to miss them, but I don't think this is de-escalating anytime soon. Could be wrong. Could be a handshake in the Oval Office today. I don't know, but we're all watching this closely. But when we come back, we're going to get to some other breaking stories. We are going to talk more about Trump and Musk. I would like to hear your opinions. I am running a little bit late, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
What better start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Sometimes my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis gets in my way. But thanks to Skyrizi, I'm free to bare my skin. With Skyrizi, I saw dramatically clearer skin, and many people were 100% plaque-free. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is everything.
Now's the time. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Learn how.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So many comments coming in, and I appreciate that. Thank you for the heads up on the theme music running a little long in the first segment. I appreciate that. But right now, let's get to our Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program. Steuben Senior Services, empowering seniors to age at home. And that means it's time to read viewer comments, and boy, are there a lot of viewer comments. First up, it was inevitable that Musk and Trump would eventually have some dysfunction because of their similar dynamic personalities playing off each other. Musk feels insubordination because of the bill's take on EVs. Perhaps it was Trump's attempt to not show favoritism. Thank you. Comment from a different viewer. Love it with Musk and Trump. You back Trump no matter what. There is no proof about how much money Musk saved. Trump lies so much, I don't know what is true or what is a lie. I would disagree with that Trump no matter what. I'm just having a conversation of where I see Musk at. And I think you've heard me talk about Musk in the past as many instances of liability. Though I did like Doge, I won't deny that. Comment from a different viewer. I'm really concerned about the big beautiful bill mess. This is really unfortunate and seriously disturbing. It's childish on both parts in many ways, but when you talk impeachment, it's really bad for optics. And the worst part for me, and I agree with you, I'll have to see the nonstop talking heads gloating and loving it, and who knows, maybe the left just found their next candidate. Yes, the left has signed up. They are very much pro-Musk now. And I have numerous examples of that, which we'll get to a little bit later on because I do have some breaking stories we must get to. Comment from a different viewer. Trump won the election without Elon his first term, and he didn't need him to win again, in my opinion. I agree. I think that was a little bit of overhype, kind of delusions of grandeur on that one. But comment from a different viewer. Does the word smoke screen mean anything to you? Keep looking at both hands. Interesting point. And finally, from a different viewer, as for Epstein, there's no question that Trump had met Epstein. It was years ago. It sounds like he made an appearance. But all the wealth he did. And just because you visit someplace, you size things up yourself and you decide if it's something you're going to revisit. And I don't believe he did. That came out a long time ago, but they will sensationalize it and milk it for all they can. I agree. And that's kind of what Musk did with that exact tweet. Okay. Thank you for those comments. Keep them coming in. Quickly. Surprise, surprise, Trump ban on entry of international Harvard students has been blocked by another U.S. judge, or I should say blocked by a judge, but another instance of a judge, I guess, having more power than the President of the United States. A federal judge in Boston temporarily blocked U.S. President Donald Trump from barring U.S. entry of foreign nationals seeking to study or participate in exchange programs at Harvard University. Under a 2-page temporary restraining order granted to Harvard, U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs enjoined Trump's proclamation from taking effect pending further litigation of the matter amid an escalating dispute between the Ivy League school and the Republican president. The judge ruled that Trump's directive prohibiting foreign nationals from entering the U.S. to study at Harvard for the next 6 months could cause immediate and irreparable harm before the courts have a chance to review the case. Also, a Guatemalan man who was deported to Mexico despite stating that he feared being persecuted when he was flown back. He has been flown back to the United States on Wednesday after a judge ordered the Trump administration, to facilitate his return. Judges have directed President Trump's administration to help return several migrants to the country because they were wrongly deported, and the man's arrival appeared to mark the first time one of these migrants have been able to come back. All right. I feel like you want to talk more about Musk and Trump, though. Is that true? The Colorado terror attack suspect, Mohammed Solomon, has been formally slapped with 118 charges for anti-Semitic firebombing attack. That's according to breaking news this morning. Solomon, an Egyptian national who was living in the U.S. illegally after his visa expired on March 28th, is now facing 28 counts of attempted murder for allegedly spraying a homemade flamethrower and hurling Molotov cocktails at the peaceful marchers in Boulder on Sunday. All right. We do have, and listen, we can go back to Musk and Trump, but there's just a few things that I think we have to get to this week. And throughout the history of the program, we've talked a lot about the real serious threat from China. I have 2 updates on that. There is a very interesting piece here tying in with that Solomon article that I just mentioned. Douglas Murray writes, why do parts of the left and the media keep asking for sympathy from all the wrong places? In recent months, we have had to put up with crazed activists like Taylor Lorenz claiming that Luigi Mangione is a revolutionary and a morally good guy because she finds him handsome. Unfortunately, he is also on trial for gunning down a father of 2 in cold blood. In the eyes of many people, that still counts against a man. And then there's been the bizarre defense of absolutely anybody who ICE has tried to deport. It doesn't matter whether the people being deported are gang members, violent criminals, or serial abusers. If ICE wants them out, then the illegals must be defended. In quick succession, we went from protesters and Democrat lawmakers objecting to ICE taking illegal aliens from their homes, then to protesting when they are taken to a courtroom. Then there was the case of Hannah Dugan, the Milwaukee judge who was arrested in April. She's accused of aiding an illegal alien to evade arrest. But rather than see the law take its course, Democrats kept suggesting that it was the Trump administration that had broken the rules, not the judge, and the judge who deserves our sympathy. Isn't it a bad idea for a judge to help someone evade the law? Doesn't it undermine the judiciary for a judge to apparently help a man accused of battery to slip out of her courtroom through a side door so the waiting federal agents could not detain him? And if you think so, then why make a hero of Dugan? Why pretend that she is accused of doing, let me say that again, why pretend that what she's accused of doing is any way excusable? Why not at least wait for the law to take its course and not make heroes of people who have done deeply unheroic things? It is the same here in New York, where the authorities, student groups, and others continue to try to make a free speech martyr out of Mohammed Khalil. In their estimation, Khalil was simply an exemplary student, even though he wasn't a student. And he apparently has to be given all the rights of a U.S. citizen, even though he isn't a U.S. citizen. Just because all he did was spend 18 months helping to cause civil unrest and bring about what this group called the total eradication of Western civilization. But so many people said Khalil has a pregnant wife, in which case you might have thought that Khalil would have tried to be on a better behavior while enjoying the hospitality and benefits of this country. But no, it is he that has to be made into a martyr. And then, this week, the strange desire to extend sympathy to the worst people reached a bizarre new height. Habib Solomon is the daughter of Mohammed Solomon. He is the man who was in this country illegally and who last week firebombed Jewish Americans while they were protesting peacefully in Colorado. You might have thought in the wake of that gruesome attack, an attack that Solomon had apparently been planning for a year, sympathy might go to a number of people. Most obviously, you might think it would go towards the 12 people who were badly injured by a man who should have never been here in the first place and who seems to have had links with Hamas. But no, the real victims, we are told, are the Solomon's family, because the immigration authorities have looked at Solomon's illegal status and now arrested his wife as well as his daughter and 4 siblings. Why should the sympathy go to them? Well, take the title of USA Today's story on the case. Habib Solomon wanted to be a doctor, then her father firebombed Jewish marchers in Boulder. If only that little stumbling block hadn't arisen, we could have had another doctor in about a decade. What a bummer. CNN chose to go with a similar angle, saying that the family's arrest threatens to derail what looked like to be a promising academic career for Solomon's oldest daughter, who graduated days before her father's attack. We've been told that before the attack, Habib Solomon apparently wrote an application for a scholarship in which she said that being in the U.S., I learned to adapt to new things, even if it was hard. I learned to work under pressure and improve rapidly in a very short time. And then her dad decided to carry out a terrorist attack. As a result, it's Solomon's family who are now being pitied, while the victims of their family members, ranging in age from 25 to 88, are swiftly passed over. The Trump administration has repeatedly said it wants to prioritize the deportation of people who are in the U.S. illegally, who have committed crimes, and who support terrorism. In an effort not only to clear up the open border mess left by Biden or whoever was in charge of the auto pen, it is also an effort to dissuade violent criminals and terrorists from thinking this country is an entirely safe space to operate from. But there is a cost to committing crimes, and there are costs to carrying out acts of terrorism. If one of those costs is inconvenience to your loved one, then perhaps you should think twice about doing it, because the sympathies of the American public have been stretched quite far enough. So I thought that was a great way to encompass what we've been talking about with these various violent protesters and the sympathy that has been awarded them by many on the left. And we had that great piece earlier in the week from The Spectator about the normalization of left-wing violence and how the media has downplayed it. But yes, we are going to talk about Musk. I see that the comments have slowed down because I'm not talking about Musk and Trump. We will talk about it. Can I at least get to a couple of other issues before that? Please. But you can weigh in on Trump and Musk at any moment, anytime, at that number on the bottom of the screen. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Your tap water is delicious.
I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system.
What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Scamming seniors is a huge problem today. Worldwide, seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. The Steuben County Office for the Aging is here to help. Come to our seminar recognizing and avoiding financial scams and identifying elder abuse. Monday, June 9th at the Corning Senior Center in Corning, New York from 1:30 to 4 p.m. Learn how to identify scams, how to protect yourself, and learn fraud watch tips. Come to the Corning Senior Center in Corning, New York from 1:30 to 4 p.m. on June 9th. Learn more. Go to steubencountiny.gov/235.
First you hear it, then you feel it. That's the crunchy, melt-in-your-mouth feeling of Ritz Toasted Chips.
Attention all, it's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th, 2025. Race starts at 2 p.m.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I had a viewer say that they might be having some issues watching this morning because of perhaps one of the providers being down, but I can't ask you if you're having problems, because if you are, you can't respond to this because you're not watching. But we'll get on that right away. So an update from the Chinese researcher with ties to the Communist Party. Is accused of helping smuggle a potentially devastating crop-killing fungus into the U.S. That Chinese researcher will remain in custody until she retains private counsel. This is Yin, 33, appeared in a Detroit courtroom for a detention hearing Thursday, where a public defender assigned to her case asked the court to reconvene once Yin can hire her own lawyer. So that's just a quick update. She will remain in custody while seeking private counsel. Also, as we get to New York State issues, and we do have to take a break already, but former top Hochul aide and Cuomo aide unearthed family connections to Chinese Communist Party raises alarm bells. Remember this? This story we brought to you a while ago. It went mysteriously silent, but a former senior aide to Governor Kathy Hochul reportedly has deep ties to the Chinese Communist Party, sparking concern over foreign influence in U.S. politics as she now serves as chief of staff to New York City mayoral candidate Scott Stringer. Elaine Fan, who is also known as Fan Zhejiang, is a daughter of a former... Oh, this is a different aide. I'm sorry. Is the daughter of a former Chinese journalist who held senior roles in the CCP's Central Propaganda Department and served as editor for state-run media outlets, including China Press. So this is a different potential Chinese operative, or Chinese, what's the term I want to use? Well, anyway, this includes a stint in the United States where her daughter now works as chief of staff to mayoral candidate Scott Stringer, following a stint as a reporter from another party outlet. Fan has not distanced herself from her family legacy, quite the opposite. So this comes on the heels, my apologies, this is different from the person that was being charged with taking money from China to influence what Cuomo and Hochul had to say. This is a former aide. Yes. This is a former aide to Hochul, now the chief of staff for that mayoral candidate. This comes off the heels of Linda Sun, a high-ranking aide to Hochul, who also served for Cuomo, was charged with acting as a foreign agent for China in exchange for millions in kickbacks and lavish perks. son, who has worked for Cuomo and Hochul and current Big Apple mayor frontrunner, was arrested. Or Cuomo's the frontrunner, excuse me, was arrested with her husband. You recall that? Wow. So we're seeing more Chinese influence, potentially Communist Party of China influence, right here in New York. All right. We've got a couple of other New York State updates that we're going to get to, and then we are going to jump right back in to Trump Musk. But I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't bring some of these stories to you, as the other outlets focus laser-like on Trump and Musk, which we will as well. We'll just offer a better take on, a better opinion on them. But we do have some other issues that can't be glanced over. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Cut! I get it. Slow motion. Slow down geographic atrophy. But we don't need gimmicks. Stick to the facts. GA, the advanced form of dry AMD, can irreversibly damage your vision. But Syfovre is an FDA-approved eye injection that gives you the power to slow GA. Syfovre was proven to slow GA lesion growth over 2 years with increasing effect over time. It's the only treatment to slow GA in as few as 6 doses per year.
Don't take Syfovre if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye that may include pain and redness or are allergic to it. Syfovre can cause severe allergic reactions. Other serious side effects are eye infection and retinal detachments, severe inflammation of vessels in the retina, which may result in severe vision loss, wet AMD, eye inflammation, and an increase in eye pressure. Most common side effects are eye discomfort, wet AMD, small specks floating in vision, and blood in the white of the eye. Tell your doctor right away if you have any side effects.
Act on facts to slow GA. Ask your retina specialist about Syfovre. Nope, just the facts.
It's Friends and Family Sale. That means insider deals on summer styles from your favorite brands, plus 15% off beauty and fragrance too. It's the perfect time to shop for summer. So hurry in. Macy's Friends and Family ends Monday.
If you or one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horsets. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. And this is the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program, where we read viewer comments. Yes, sir. Please remember D-Day. We must never forget. I couldn't agree more. 81 years ago today. D-Day. Thank you for that. Thank you for the reminder. I had it in my calendar, and I have not looked at my calendar yet. Speaking of which, as Primary Day nears, Primary Day on June 24th, a lot of local primaries, specifically in Steuben County. There are Republican primaries in Bath, Cameron, Campbell, Canisteo, Caton, Cohocton, Town of Corning, Irwin, Hornby, Prattsburg, Rathbone, Thurston, Troopsburg, Tuscarora, Wheeler. Well, early voting begins on the 14th with primary day on the 24th. So mentioning that because we will have a lot of guests coming up next week and the week after for our Steuben County Office for the Aging portion of our program, where we have interviews. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. I wanted to mention them and thank them for being a sponsor of our interview section, because I don't have an interview today, and I want to thank them. But there's just too much to cover in the news today, and we want to get ready to focus on the primaries in the upcoming weeks and some other guests, some pretty fun guests that we're going to have that I'll get to later on. But I just wanted to thank them. Okay, quickly, before we get back to Musk and Trump, well, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's get back to Musk and Trump, because I have all these things and I feel like I kind of killed the momentum when I switched topics and gave you the updates. So we do have, if you want to, some updates on the Democrat Party. The investigation, for lack of a better word, into the use of auto pen that Biden adamantly denied yesterday. But we learned that Biden only hand-signed one of the pardons during that final spree of pardons. And, of course, it was the most controversial. He pardoned more than 1,500 people at the White House in those final days. Biden appears to have signed those final pardons, including preemptive pardons. Oh, let me take a step back. Biden used his final weeks as commander-in-chief to grant clemency and pardon more than 1,500 people in what his White House described as the largest single day of clemency by a U.S. president. Biden appears to have signed those final pardons, including preemptive pardons for members of his family, Dr. Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, and members and staff of the House committee investigating January 6th. But the former president signed only one by hand for his son. Biden pardoned his son Hunter, if you recall. That's the only one he signed by hand. They kind of worded that strange. But if you want to talk about Karine Jean-Pierre, we can. And that new book, a lot of Democrats are turning on her. We learned something even more pathetic about the book. So she's now independent, right? I'm going to be independent. I'm going to talk about the broken administration. So much like Jake Tapper trying to profit off their failures, and in her case, failure, I mean, how many times did she defend Biden's mental health? But there's a grift aspect to that, profiting off of her failures, and it was kind of cringeworthy the way that they discussed it and discussed her time there. But now we learn like her dream job because no one's hired her. She was very bad at her job, and I'm not just trying to be rude to be rude. That was pretty well known, of course, with the binders, and we'll circle back around, and you know all about it. But just not, I mean, watch Carolyn Levitt. I watched a video the other day where they put kind of the back-to-back on how they would answer questions, and it was just visibly remarkable, the response, or just completely different styles. But she would have her binder. We know all about that. But so she hasn't been, as far as I know, offered any job, like is typical for a Democrat press secretary, Jen Psaki. She's at MSNBC. Well, we learned that KJP's dream job was to be a host on The View. Oof. Anyway, so Elon Musk signing off on a suggestion that Trump should be impeached. They didn't really take this as one of the big takeaways at CNN, but I think this was a major one. Someone had tweeted out, President versus Elon. Who wins? My money's on Elon. Trump should be impeached and J.D. Vance should replace him. Musk simply replied, yes. Trump had said that Musk was going crazy. He indicated that he'd been wearing thin in the White House for some time. Now, again, that was something that was reported on early on. Now, I still don't, my thoughts on anonymous sources. I think very often there may not even be an anonymous source. It just helps the media create a narrative that they want to create, or it'll say someone inside the White House. And that someone could be a janitor, could be someone in the cafeteria, but they can then still say someone inside the White House. So early on, they were reporting that Musk was there nonstop, just constantly, always there, and that a lot of people, staff, people in Trump's family, Trump himself, were just getting kind of sick of him. That was reported a long time ago. I don't know if those reports are true, but Trump kind of echoing that statement now, saying that he was wearing thin. I don't mind Elon turning against me, but he should have done so months ago. I didn't create this mess. I'm just here to fix it. The collapse of the alliance between Trump and Musk played out in real time yesterday, where the South African-born billionaire had proudly proclaimed in February, this was just in February, I love Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man. And then we see what unfolded yesterday. Even Trump saying when Musk was departing, saying he's not really leaving, kind of saying we're still going to need his help. But then the fun began, at least the fun for the talking heads, as that viewer so astutely put, that this is all we're going to hear about. That's why we're not going to focus the whole show on it, but we do have to talk about it. But it started Tuesday with the whole kill the bill and that it's an abomination. And then yesterday brought the meltdown. Some are saying towards the end of the meltdown, it seemed to be calming down and getting better. That can change, let's face it, folks, at the drop of a hat. I have not checked in the last 2 minutes to see if there's any breaking news on it. But that could be the kind of day that it is. But I would love to hear your thoughts. First of all, I don't like that, hey, Trump only has 3.5 years left as president. I have 40 plus years, kind of threatening the lawmakers. Don't really care for that. I don't believe the fact either that Trump would have lost the presidency if it weren't for Musk. I think Musk was a liability very often on the campaign trail, and in certain instances. Other times, yes, very beneficial. I'm not denying that. And obviously his money was very beneficial. But I think Republicans were sometimes forced to twist themselves up into a pretzel trying to defend what Musk said or was doing during the campaign. I think many supported Doge, of course. But now, in my opinion, Musk is just showing that he's varsity in technology and everything else, but he's JV when it comes to politics, or less. He's on the bench on the JV team, because I think right now he is being used by the exact people he does not want to be used by. He's trying to assert power that he doesn't have, or that does not have the impact he thinks it has, such as throwing around Epstein, or throwing around this idea of a third party, because you may not like it, but a third party isn't, in most instances, is only going to have the exact opposite effect of what you are hoping it will do. But Musk wrote, "It is time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle." Musk attached a survey to his post that allowed users to vote yes or no on the idea of a third political party. That came hours after Trump expressed disappointment with Musk over his criticism of the big, beautiful bill. So it's hard to keep track. I can't remember what outlet it was on. They actually had a time frame of all the tweets and all the comments. Again, we'll talk more about it. Stay with us. No, it's a great topic. Keep those comments coming in. It has to be discussed, because this is what the media and the left are going to run with it. It makes, well, you'd be surprised at some of the people, even John Fetterman, criticizing the left who hated Musk, that were encouraging firebombing Tesla dealerships and keying Tesla vehicles, now loving Musk. It's kind of one of these embarrassing about faces in politics. One person even tweeting out to Musk, "Welcome to the resistance." We'll talk about it. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily, Jardiance, at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardiance may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardiance. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with a big story to
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. We had a viewer comment about today, June 6th, being the anniversary of D-Day, the 81st anniversary of D-Day. And I got this in an email, and I thought it was just kind of interesting. You know Dwight D. Eisenhower telling the troops, a famous speech about the invasion of Normandy back in 1944, that he told the troops that the eyes of the world are upon you. Now, did you know, interesting fact, Eisenhower, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, also wrote an alternative speech in case the invasion was unsuccessful, in what has become one of the world's most coveted pieces of scrap paper, a piece of scrap paper that he put in his wallet, and luckily, thank God, never needed to use it. He said, "My decision to attack at this time and place was based upon the best information available. The troops, the air, and the Navy did all that bravery and devotion to duty could do. If any blame or fault attaches to the attempt, it is mine alone." Isn't that interesting? I don't know. I thought you'd find maybe that an interesting, historic fact. So the big bomb, I suppose, at least according to Elon Musk, was that he somehow tried... this one I don't understand, only because it's old news, except for he's trying to bring it into new news by suggesting that's why the Trump administration isn't releasing the Epstein files. But even if Trump's name is mentioned in the Epstein files, because he has said in the past that they knew each other, but he didn't like Epstein, so they weren't friends. So he cut off that friendship or whatever. So this is nothing new, and just if he was named in one of these files, it doesn't mean anybody's guilty of any. It's really quite strange, but that's the one that the media loves, to that viewer's point, because they can focus on that and try to beat a dead horse. Yeah, I guess that's what the main takeaway was from yesterday, and also the weirdness of, I don't think how Mediaite put it is necessarily accurate. They said GOP should side with me. That means what Musk is saying, because Trump will die first. That's not what he's saying. Trump's only in power for 3.5 more years, where Musk is suggesting he has at least 40 plus years ahead of him to, I guess, influence elections, to pay, which isn't that ironic, kind of when we hear so much about Doge and others fighting back against lobbyists and all that. Isn't that what he's threatening? And then, of course, he did say that Trump would not have won the election without him. Now, Laura Loomer, again, someone we are told has a lot of influence, but Laura Loomer shared a screenshot of Musk's comment and wrote, "It's heating up. Will be interesting to see what Republican lawmakers do now. I know lawmakers who are asking if they should side with President Trump or Elon. I've been on the Hill all day, and it's all anyone is talking about. The most powerful man in the world versus the most richest man in the world." Musk replied, "Oh, and some food for thought as they ponder this question. Trump has 3.5 years left as president, but I will be around for 40 plus years." So that's almost a threat to these politicians, saying, hey, do you want my money, my power, if you will, being used against you? I don't know. Also saying one thing for sure, it ain't boring. Anyway. Yes, I know it's a big topic of the day, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. But I will also be happy to start a sort of informal poll. Would you rather talk about Trump and Musk? Would you rather move on? Also, I would love to hear your thoughts on the whole war of words. What did Mark call it? The big, beautiful brawl. What is your thoughts? We've got some opinions from some of the talking heads, from some of the people that hate Musk, now loving Musk, the hypocrisy in what they're saying now. Yes, it's a fun time, isn't it? Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking, wrapping up our number one after this. Stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
In today's securing your business is more important than ever. Protected with Boss Security's state-of-the-art alarm systems. When seconds matter, trust the experts. Boss Security is proud to safeguard local businesses across the Twin Tiers. Contact Boss Security today.
When you're on, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
When migraine strikes, do you question the trade-offs of treating? Ubrelvy is another option. It works fast, and most have migraine pain relief within 2 hours. You can treat it anytime, anywhere. Tell your doctor all medicines you take. Don't take if allergic or with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Get help right away for allergic reactions like trouble breathing, face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, which may occur hours to days after. Side effects include nausea and sleepiness. Migraine pain relief starts with you. Learn how AbbVie could...
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And let me tell you, we have a ton of great comments coming in. I'm out of time for this hour, so we'll read them at the top of the next hour. I will say the consensus right now seems to be, to quote Hank Snow, moving on from the Musk-Trump drama. I will say this. We're going to get to some other stories at the top of the hour, some other breaking news, as we've been mentioning this morning. We already did pretty good on that. We got some other news in here so far. We'll start the program. We'll start the second hour of the program with different news topics, and then we'll wrap up today's discussion with Trump and Musk. So how about that for a agenda? I think that's the best way to do it. But I will read all your comments at the kickoff to the next hour. And one of those comments is Climate Fact Friday from Bob. We always look forward to Climate Fact Friday from Bob, so thanks for sending that in. We'll get to those at the top of the hour. I think we're good here. We do have some New York State updates that I think are really important to get to then. Not a lot about the big, beautiful bill. What we know is it's going to be a tough battle, one that John Thune has to make. We'll see how he handles this. This is kind of his first big test. So kind of all eyes on Senator Thune. And really, if you think about it, the Trump-Musk debacle all started, the big, beautiful brawl all started from the big, beautiful bill. So there we are. All right, your comments when we come back. Do have a couple of interesting things about the Democrat Party that I'm glad that we'll have an opportunity to get to at the top of the hour. Then some more Trump and Musk. All right, let's take that short break. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2, mere moments away. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options for pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. Your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
Going to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Scamming is a huge problem today. Worldwide, seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. The Steuben County Office for the Aging is here to help. Come to our seminar, Recognizing and Avoiding Financial Scams and Identifying Elder Abuse, Monday, June 9th at the Corning Senior Center in Corning, New York from 1:30 to 4 p.m. Learn how to identify scams, how to protect yourself, and learn fraud watch tips. Come to the Corning Senior Center in Corning, New York from 1:30 to 4 p.m. on June 9th. Learn more. Go to steubencountiny.gov/235.
It's the 20 cardboard boat regatta. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025.
First you hear it, then you feel.
And it's hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live and proudly from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. And we have viewer comments to get to. Now, viewer comments are brought to you by Steuben Senior Services, empowering seniors to age at home. They have this section where they give us some time to read your comments. Okay. The person who sent, I can't put it up on the screen, but the person who sent Musk and Trump texting each other and laughing and saying, does anybody believe this is what's really happening, the back and forth? I think that's a very good point. Comment from a different viewer. Move on. This is in regards to my question. Should we move on from Trump and Musk for temporarily? Another one. Move on for now. What other news is going on? We'll get to that in just a second. Then a comment. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. My dream of rebuilding a burnt-out Tesla is now shattered. I'll never be able to get my hands on one now that Musk has gone to the dark side. I don't know. That's an interesting comment because I don't think the left, whatever you say about the dark side, I put that aside. I don't think the left will embrace him. Yes, they're going to embrace him for this political issue because he's being used. But I don't think they're going to all of a sudden buy Teslas again or stop putting bumper stickers on their car that says anti-Tesla or something. So I don't, this is that sad scenario that Musk has found himself in where the people that hate him are using him and propping him up now, but will turn on him again and will insult him as soon as necessary. You know, it's kind of like Liz Cheney's dealt with it, Mitt Romney's dealt with it, John McCain back in the day dealt with it. All these people turn on their party and get all this great fame for it from the left-wing media. That all changes when they're no longer needed. When in politics, they used to call it kind of the useful idiot idea. Once they're no longer useful, you see the attacks. Okay, this is a lot of people's favorite part of the program. Climate Fact Friday from Bob. Well, good morning, Bob, and we appreciate it, as always. Today, we are going to discuss forest and wildfires. I like this turning into like a school special. Today, we are going to discuss forest and wildfires. Humans are responsible for starting 85% of all wildfires, either by accident or on purpose, not climate change. According to NASA and European satellite data from 1998 to 2015, wildfires have declined by 24% worldwide, mostly in the Ecuadorian region, maybe? I think I will say equator probably is what it is. It's coming up as a spelling error, but regions. Maybe the overall 20% greening effect of the Earth we talked about has something to do with that decline. The narrative that climate change is causing the world to burn is simply not true. What do you think? Thank you, and have a safe and great weekend. You too, Bob. We appreciate it. We always enjoy Climate Fact Friday from Bob. Okay, let's talk about some New York State issues. First of all, Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski. He released a statement yesterday. He said a proposed state recycling bill would increase costs for families, farms, and businesses if it is to become law. Now, we've been talking about a lot of these disastrous ideas coming out of Albany lately. The idea that you couldn't have more than 700 cows on your farm, that being proposed by two representatives, one from Brooklyn, one from Manhattan. We talked about other numerous hurtful, overreaching policies. Well, that's what it seems that Assemblyman Sempolinski is bringing up here. The Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act, also referred to as the Extended Producer Responsibility Law, would shift responsibility for recycling away from private recycling companies and municipalities and make producers like farms, nurseries, cider mills, dairy cooperatives, and cheese plants responsible for New York's recycling program. Assemblyman Sempolinski voted against the bill as a member of the Assembly Environmental Conservation Committee when it was reviewed by the committee. He said this is another ill-conceived, job-killing bill that will increase grocery costs and hurt New York's already struggling businesses and families. Like the electric school bus mandate and the push to ban natural gas, this bill was drafted by members of the Democrat majority to pander to their base while ignoring the adverse impact on average New Yorkers. Citing a York University study, the Business Council of New York State estimates that the EPR, as it's called, the Extended Producer Responsibility, would raise the average family of four's grocery bill $38 to $61 per month, or per year, that's a $456 to $732 per year. You could look at it as a tax. And result in a $1.3 billion increase in direct costs to New York's farms and businesses. Always an attack on farms. Knowing that New York has already lost 3,000 farms, the New York Farm Bureau opposes the bill because New York's farmers cannot bear the cost. This legislation will lead to many farms, dairy co-ops, and ag businesses closing because they just can't afford it, said Assemblyman Semplinsky. I'm opposed to this legislation because it threatens the liability of our already struggling farms and businesses and will raise costs for our already struggling New York families. New York leads the nation in the number of citizens and businesses moving out as people and businesses flee high taxes and regulations. New York also leads the nation with the highest tax burden in the country. The average New York taxpayer pays more than $12,000 in taxes per year, when the national average is around $7,000. Semplinsky continued, these are the kind of statistics the tax and spend culture in Albany has created. My colleagues in the Democrat majority talk a lot about making New York more affordable for families and businesses. If the EPR bill is how they're trying to help us, they should stop. I will continue policies in Albany that will drive up costs and hurt families and businesses. We need to reduce taxes and regulations, not pile on more. While the full assembly hasn't voted on the bill yet, the Senate passed it in a 33 to 25 vote last week. So thank you to Joe Semplinsky. Speaking of which, Assemblyman Joe Semplinsky will be appearing on The Pulse this weekend with Hornell Mayor John Buckley. He is the host. John Buckley does a great job on that program. It's a relatively new program to WLEA, and this is for our friends in the Hornell area, WLEA and WYSL, if you're out that way, towards Avon Way. It is on Saturdays and Sundays at 1 p.m. Don't miss it. This weekend's guest, John Buckley, the host, Mayor John Buckley, and the guest, Assemblyman Joe Semplinsky. I had the pleasure of being on The Pulse on WLEA, and it was a blast. He does a great job, so don't miss that if you're in the Hornell area. And I'm not sure if you can listen online, but if you can, I would highly recommend it. Yeah, you can listen online. I look forward to checking it out myself. Speaking of, and by the way, if you are just joining us, if you missed the 6 o'clock hour, we will be talking more about Musk and Trump. I don't want to dissuade you from commenting on that because we are going to talk about it, so feel free at any time to weigh in, and we'll read those comments when we come back from break. This is not some type of protest against that conversation. We just had a little bit of our fill of it, and then we're going to come back to it a little bit later on. Now, Seth Barron has an interesting point, and I don't want to talk too much about the mayoral race in New York City, but he took away from the mayoral debate 2 days ago that Democrats are pledging in that race to help people break the law no matter what the cost. And that seems to be the mindset in Albany as well. It was just kind of one thing that we had not mentioned, and we talked about it pretty extensively yesterday on the program. But we know there was quite an attack on Cuomo, and so I just wanted to offer that little bit of a tidbit from yesterday's show. Now, Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins signaled that after more than a decade of relentless advocacy and pushback in the halls of the state capitol, the Medical Aid in Dying Act will likely be heading to Governor Kathy Hochul's desk this year. She said, "I do believe there are the votes, and it is likely it will come to the floor. The bill, which would legalize medically assisted suicide via prescription for terminally ill, mentally competent adults, passed in the Assembly to some surprise last month after never before having been brought to the floor. In the intervening weeks, Stewart-Cousins said the sentiment in the upper chamber was shifting, but she wasn't certain the votes were there to pass. It's, again, a conversation that has evolved considerably. The majority of the conference felt comfortable with providing options for people during difficult end-of-life times. So we could see that quote-unquote Medical Aid in Dying Act being voted on soon. Okay, a couple updates on the Democrats when we come back, and we're going to read your comments. Again, feel free to weigh in on Trump and Musk. And as Mark called, I want to give credit because Mark came up with this and I liked it. The big, beautiful brawl. The war of words. More on that when we come back. Also, one last New York update, but we're not going to get too much in depth. New York education officials won't rescind the state's ban on Native American mascots and team names, even though there was threats from the Trump administration of cuts in federal funding because of it. New York officials suggested in a letter to the U.S. Department of Education that they could broaden the state ban to include names and mascots derived from other racial or ethnic groups that the department deems offensive. So I guess this is another way New York is trying to show an education system we know is far left. So they're not liking Trump's input on this. So not only saying, okay, if you want to do that, Trump, we're going to double down and we're going to go to other names that are offensive to us. A weird threat to make. The federal agency last week determined New York violated Title VI of the federal civil rights law by issuing a statewide ban on the use of Native American mascots and logos. The department's civil rights office found the state's ban is discriminatory because names and mascots that are still permitted are also derived from other racial or ethnic groups such as Dutchmen and the Huguenots. New York officials said they were willing to work with the federal officials to reach a resolution as to appropriate standards. So this has been quite an issue. Actually, Linda McMahon even visiting one of the high schools in Long Island that was affected by this that didn't want to get rid of their name. I think their name were the Chiefs. So there is an update because we brought that to you a little bit on earlier this week or late last week. All right, let's take a break. We'll read your comments when we come back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Cut! I get it. Slow motion. Slow down geographic atrophy. But we don't need gimmicks. Stick to the facts. GA, the advanced form of dry AMD, can irreversibly damage your vision. But Syfovre is an FDA-approved eye injection that gives you the power to slow GA. Syfovre was proven to slow GA lesion growth over 2 years with increasing effect over time. It's the only treatment to slow GA in as few as 6 doses per year.
Don't take Syfovre if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye that may include pain and redness or are allergic to it. Syfovre can cause severe allergic reactions. Other serious side effects are eye infection and retinal detachments, severe inflammation of vessels in the retina, which may result in severe vision loss, wet AMD, eye inflammation, and an increase in eye pressure. Most common side effects are eye discomfort, wet AMD, small specks floating in vision, and blood in the white of the eye. Tell your doctor right away if you have any side effects.
Act on facts to slow GA. Ask your retina specialist about Syfovre. Nope, just the facts.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. So, this is the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we'll read your comments. And I'm getting mixed reactions because people in the last hour, as we talked about Trump and Elon and what is being deemed the big, beautiful brawl. People had said maybe move on, we'll get to some other breaking news, which I have done. But then I look at my comments and they're all about the big, beautiful brawl. But I do have a couple updates we are going to continue with, and we'll get back into it. I know we talked about it in depth in the 6 o'clock hour, but it is the biggest breaking story. And who knows how much it's broken since even this morning during show prep. It just keeps adding on, I'm sure. So let's go to your viewer comments. Again, this section brought to you by Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. All right, first up, Mark writes, I think some of the reasons Musk did what he did was because he was leaving the spotlight, which he was so used to, and now he is back in it. I think you raise a good point there, Mark, because he, even in some of the ways he worded his X posts, were very Trump-esque, you know, with the parentheses or the caps or the exclamation points. And I do think he liked going to the rallies. There's got to be something to that, right? Going to the rallies where there's thousands upon thousands of people listening to your every word and cheering you on. And then you go to the Oval Office and there's reporters around and there's a clicking of the cameras. And it's something he can't get anywhere else in that kind of controlled setting, right? Not to say he couldn't purchase it in some ways, but you know what I mean. It's a whole different feel. So I think he loved that. I think he liked every post, every comment he made being all over the news, and that kind of dried up. Once he was no longer a special government employee, it was somewhat gone away. Now, you add on top of the rumors that Trump did not extend his 130-day contract, and Musk may have asked him to, even though that's against the law, allegedly, that's one of the reasons why he felt that he'd been fired, and that's kind of the, I don't like using the word tantrum because I think it downplays it, but you know, kind of the lashing out, if you will, that we're seeing now. So I think he does miss the spotlight. I think that is a part of it. I think there's more than just one reason this is all happening. A comment about changing the names of school mascots in New York. One viewer saying, so what names will be appropriate? Oh, I know. The Yankees can become the Petunias unless some environmentalists would object. Yeah, it probably will get to the point of where it's just, I don't know, like Team Green, Team Blue, Team Yellow. I don't know. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but it seems to be headed in that direction. Now, this is an interesting point from a viewer. Good morning, Frank, and good morning. It is so embarrassing with these two egos at war. Not taking sides, however, I just want to throw this out there. Asperger's syndrome may present with a lack of social cues and difficulties in communication. Musk may be having difficulties adjusting to a lack of attention, and this is one way of getting attention through negative comments. Just a thought. Very interesting, because that had been talked about in the past with the way he handles speeches, the way he sometimes, people use a term glitch, in the way that he will just kind of power down for a second. And there's been talks about that. I think he even talked about that at one point in conversation. Okay, finally, Ken writes in, Frank, it's unfortunate that Musk and Trump are feuding, especially while the big, beautiful bill is working its way through Congress. I am positive that there is much more behind the scenes that transpired between Trump and Musk that we don't know about. I would agree with that, Ken. I'm also sure that the elimination of the EV subsidies that may have been pushed by the Democrats to damage Musk could have put him over the top. Musk's mindset is probably that he spent hundreds of millions to help Trump get elected, worked without pay to save the country billions of dollars, and was subjected to domestic terrorists and Democrats hurting his wealth, only to have the EV subsidies threatened in the big, beautiful bill. Couple that with his obvious social issues, and one can understand his outrage. Let's hope that this all calms down and they hug it out to join forces to get the bill passed. I would agree on so many levels on that, Ken. And I think there's, like you said, we'll never know all of the factors in play. But I think there is, to many viewers' points, that lack of attention, that he was loving, even if it was negative attention, he likes that. He's always been kind of a disruptor, right? Even before all this and what we saw yesterday, he's always been that way when it comes to posts. And it's one of the kind of the contrarian in him is probably one of the reasons why he was attracted to Trump at the beginning, knowing that that would be quite a backlash and kind of that mindset of, I'm the richest man in the world. What can I do to kind of just make my life interesting and have people try to change me being the richest person in the world? But I think it probably did upset him. It cost him multi billions, probably at least millions, in the long run because of the drop in Tesla. And now a lot of people are upset that he picked this fight because now there's another big drop in Tesla. And one of the problems with this is, and I know I talked about this extensively in the 6 o'clock hour, Elon Musk is a very brilliant man. It goes without saying. Very smart man, obviously. But he is not politically brilliant. And we saw that during the campaigning. We saw that with some of the comments and some of the gestures that he made in the past. And then you couple it with the way he's handling this fight in this very public way, and with that delusion of grandeur, trying to almost out-Trump Trump, or going after Trump when he said, have a great day, Donald J. Trump, thinking that he really disrupt Trump's day. It's like Trump said, go after me, I don't care, but don't go after the big, beautiful bill. I just think he thinks that he knows more about politics than he does. I think he, in many instances, when he said that he's the reason Trump won, I would disagree. I think in many cases he was a liability when it came to his speaking time at these rallies. I'm sure for some people it helped. I'm sure some people voted for Trump because of Musk. But I think overall there was times when Republicans had to almost defend what he had said or the way he acted when they would not necessarily have wanted to, where it was an unnecessary distraction. So there's so many moving pieces to this. I'm sure there's a little bit of feeling slighted because of the EV mandate, or the elimination of EV subsidies, excuse me. There's also that losing the spotlight. So we can talk more about that. Keep those comments coming in. All great comments. I really do appreciate it. We do have a few things here just as an update from yesterday, and then probably after the next break, we'll get back into Trump and Musk. But yesterday, former President Joe Biden was adamant in a written statement, which this is interesting to me, because a written statement can be made by anybody behind the scenes in your name. A lot of times the senator's statement that you read, or the governor's statement, or the congressman's statement, or whatever, is written, probably I would argue most times, by somebody behind the scenes. Yeah, it's probably approved, but a written statement is not the same as releasing maybe a taped statement or having this conversation, on a news program. But in that written statement, Joe Biden said he made the decisions and defended his use of an auto pen during his presidency. I made the decisions about the pardons, executive orders, legislation, and proclamations. Any suggestion that I didn't is ridiculous and false. And we learned the only pardon in that last 1,500 pardons that he made, and clemency and pardons that he pushed on the way out the door, the last 1,500, only one was actually hand signed by him and not auto pen, and that was the Hunter Biden pardon. Continuing with what the former president had to say, this is nothing more than a distraction by Donald Trump and congressional Republicans who are working to push disastrous legislation that would cut essential programs like Medicaid and raise costs on American families, all to pay for tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy and big corporations. This is why it is my speculation that this is written by somebody else. This is not Joe Biden's style. It's not how he would say it if he was on, for lack of a better word, the campaign trail. This is a released written statement by someone in his staff. Shortly after his departure from the White House, the Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project uncovered evidence that the 46th president had used an auto pen on a slew of key documents such as proclamations, pardons, and executive orders. Now, James Comer, the head of the Oversight Committee, launched a similar inquiry and have summoned 5 former Biden aides to answer questions about Biden's mental acuity and whether there was a cover-up. Then, midweek, Wednesday, Trump went a step further and directed the probe into the auto pen use specifically, something that will be led by White House counsel David Warrington in coordination with Pam Bondi. In the memo to Bondi, Trump said in recent months it's become increasingly apparent that former President Biden's aides abused the power of presidential signatures through the use of an auto pen to conceal Biden's cognitive decline and assert Article 2 authority. This conspiracy marks one of the most dangerous and concerning scandals in American history. The American public, was purposely shielded from discovering who yielded the power of the executive power all while Biden's signature was deployed across thousands of documents to effect radical policy shifts. Now, as I said, Biden only hand signing of those 1,500 people that were given clemency or a pardon in that final week of his presidency. Only one was hand signed, and that was the Hunter Biden pardon. Now, tying that in, the House GOP has subpoenaed Biden's doctors to answer questions about the ex-president's mental decline. This again, James Comer, forcing Joe Biden's doctor, Kevin O'Connor, to appear for questions about the alleged cover-up of the ex-president's mental decline, and plans to invite Karine Jean-Pierre to appear after she divulged plans for a tell-all book about the broken administration she served as press secretary. We're going to talk about her in just a moment. Dr. O'Connor refused to sit for a transcribed interview, citing patient-doctor confidentiality, but will now be called in for grilling on June 27th. In lieu of full compliance, your counsel suggests a set of written interrogation questions that would afford them, as well as an unnamed medical ethics expert, the ability to closely evaluate your answers. This is not acceptable and will not satisfy the committee's legitimate oversight and legislative needs. Consider these facts. The attached subpoena is now necessary. And we heard yesterday that Jean-Pierre said she was going to release this book. There's some criticism of her. When we come back, we're going to talk about that just quickly. Then we'll get back into Trump and Musk. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Frankly Speaking, Roof Cam is brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs.
I'm Mary Offord. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
I have diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily, Jardians, at each day's start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardians can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardians and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardians may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardians. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardians is really swell, the little pill with a big story to tell.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and we go to viewer comments. The viewer comments, of course, brought to you by the viewers, but this section brought to you by Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. All right, comments. Ken asks, did AutoPen write the statement and sign it for Biden? I would say perhaps not write it, but I will say could have easily signed it. The statement doesn't mean anything to me because, when you see a politician say that we wrote a letter to the governor, it's important. There's nothing knocking the letter, but that senator or that congressman or the governor or whoever didn't sit down and get on their typewriter, get on their keyboard and write that. There's people behind the scenes. That's what that felt like to me. Maybe history will prove me wrong. Comment from a different viewer. Pete here. Hi, Pete. Thanks for watching. The Musk-Trump situation may be as simple as Elon losing the handle on his meds. While I feel Trump has more right to be aggrieved at the moment, it will do him well to be magnanimous and understanding. Musk is unreliable for sure, but can be of use later, so long as bridges are not burned. Thank you, Pete. Doesn't that seem a little bit of the way it's headed right now? This could change at any moment. Keep in mind, it may have changed from when I went to break to right now. But it seems like with Carolyn Levitt's comments, it seems like with Trump's comments, they are, for him, not as aggressive. Yes, he called Musk crazy, threatened to perhaps cut some government subsidies, these from Tesla and SpaceX. But at the end of the day, this isn't typical Trump fashion. But he's got to be seen at least putting up some type of a fight, but not the typical Trump fight. So I do believe he is, for Trump, being a little more cautious in what he's saying. All right, comment from a different viewer. I think Elon was actually extremely stressed and maybe even bordering a breakdown from all the threats on him and the damage his business and Tesla was dealing with. Could it be that it all just came to a head and the cuts to the EV mandates may have been the trigger? That's a fair point. It could be, again, I think it's a combination of all these things. I think it was a little bit of a blow to his ego that he wasn't allowed to stay in Doge after 130 days. I think the EV situation also was a blow to his ego. And again, to Ken's point, you have somebody that spent a lot of money and ended up losing a lot of money through Tesla because of his support for Donald Trump. He seems willing to blow that up. He seems willing to end that friendship. But I just wonder if that's a knee-jerk that he will ultimately regret. Quickly, before we take a break, we talked about Karine Jean-Pierre. Not only was President Biden in serious decline, Karine Jean-Pierre, celebrated in numerous fawning media profiles, was a rotten White House press secretary, writes Rich Lowry. In an interview with Axios, where a Biden White House official called her one of the most ineffectual and unprepared people I'd ever worked with. We brought that comment to you yesterday, and it was so obvious at those press conferences. It was not to the level that we're used to from a press secretary. Whether you dislike the press secretary, it doesn't matter. You know, Republicans are going to dislike the Democrats are going to dislike the Republicans. But what I'm saying, even her effectiveness, bringing out that binder, was always heavily criticized. But the cause of all the attacks on KGP is the same as the sudden truth-telling about Joe Biden. She's no longer important. So there's no reason to tiptoe around her deficiencies, especially now that she's writing a book turning her back on the Democrat Party. Jean-Pierre just announced that her new book is going to be called Independent, a look inside a broken White House outside the party lines. This is about as credible as, let's say, Lawful, the true story of racketeering, A Choir Boy's Lament by Charles Lucky Luciano. KJP was in a job that required her to be a hack, but she outdid herself on that front. She fronted for a contemptible effort to obscure Biden's condition from the public toward the goal of electing him president again when he was barely capable of serving the first term. This wasn't simply mindless or crude partisanship. It was a conspiracy against the public interest. No one forced Karine Jean-Pierre to participate, even at the outskirts of this plot. She could have walked away at any time, probably with some other plum job within the Democrat media complex. She never exhibited the slightest doubt about her laughably implausible assurances she gave the public that Biden was in tip-top shape and that the latest video showing otherwise was a cheap fake. She portrayed him as a sharp and effective leader after his disastrous debate and after he dropped out of the presidential race. Biden could have taken up residence in a nearby senior living facility, and Jean-Pierre would have said he was winning every bingo game and trivia contest. Her job was to deceive, and she did it with evident relish. Now, roughly 5 months later, she says she's decided to follow my own compass. It's funny how that works. For years, when it made her famous to follow the compass of the Biden conspiracy from the White House podium, she did it every day. No matter how ridiculous, she had to make herself. Now that Biden is old news and there's no high-profile job available running interference for a compromised Democrat elected official, Jean-Pierre has become a fierce independent thinker willing to go her own way. She'd basically have us believe that she's become the Christopher Hitchens of former White House press secretaries. The transformation coincides with what must be her felt need to say something that will make a post-White House book potentially sellable. And I think that was the whole point of it. That's why people are calling it grift. You have somebody in that sees an opportunity, sees a way to make a quick dollar, and that's why she used the term broken. At the end of the day, we might learn in that book absolutely nothing. It might not talk anything about Biden's mental decline. It might actually be talking about the Chuck Schumers, the Nancy Pelosi's that went after Biden. Because remember, it's about the independent party is essentially being an independent, and so going after the Democrat Party. But a former Biden administration did say, everyone thinks this is a grift. Now, others have denigrated her abilities as a press flack, something they were often scared to do when she was still at the podium, in part because she's checked so many various political identity boxes. She herself happily played that game. It would be one thing if Karine Jean-Pierre wanted to write a memoir expressing genuine regret over her role in the sordid endgame of Joe Biden's career. This book instead looks like a transparent attempt to shift one ridiculous ruse to another and to hope once again that no one notices the obvious. And isn't that exactly what Jake Tapper did with his book, trying to cover and protect the media from their role in this scandal, what has been considered the biggest scandal, potentially biggest scandal in presidential history. But yes, we learned that she had hoped to be a co-host on The View after exiting the White House. See, you know she wasn't great at her job because she did not receive one of these cushy jobs from like an MSNBC, like is typical of a Democrat press secretary. But yes, she wanted to be on The View, and nothing, according to Political, ever materialized. Okay, when we come back, Trump, Musk, the big, beautiful brawl, and some of your comments. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Settle for ordinary. Not when outstanding is within reach. From laminate and vinyl to tile and wood, Floor & Decor has more options. For pros, homeowners, and anyone looking for the right look at the right price. With an entire store full of ideas in stock, your next beautiful space is at Floor & Decor.
I told myself I was okay with my moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis symptoms.
With my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. But just okay isn't okay.
And I was done settling.
If you still have symptoms after trying Humira, Rinvoq works differently. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill from the makers of Humira that can rapidly relieve joint pain, stiffness, and swelling as fast as 2 weeks for some. And even at the 3-year mark, many people felt this relief. Rinvoq can stop joint damage, and in PSA, can leave skin clear or almost clear.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal. Cancers including lymphoma and skin, serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events, infection, Hep B or C, smoked, are pregnant, or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Ask your rheumatologist if switching to Rinvoq is right for you.
And take back what's yours.
Thank you again to Boss Security for bringing us the Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And this is now the time for the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments. Rick writes in, where is it here? I just saw this one. Oh, good morning, Frank, by the way. Thank you, Rick. Good morning. I just saw this one. Trump appoints a 22-year-old former self-employed landscaper, Thomas Fugati, to head the U.S. terror prevention effort. Unthinkable. We're all doomed. Now, a news conference at noon with Trump. He blows himself up so big with hot air, you could use him as a float in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. And then he goes through some of the quotes from Musk, some of the quotes from Trump, and said, boys, fight nice. I have a great idea. Trump and Musk put the MMA gloves on in a cage, put it on pay-per-view, use the money raised on pay-per-view to pay down the debt. This is great. I live for days like this. The honeymoon is over. And then some more comments from the back and forth of the tweets. Ay caramba, isn't this great? Trump met his match this time. Enjoy the weekend, Rick. From Rick. Thanks. You enjoy the weekend as well, Rick. I explain more, if you don't mind, the idea that Trump has met his match, because I don't. That is where I would highly disagree. I mean, I know what you're saying. I mean, you obviously like that Musk is going after Trump. It's interesting because Rick you have the mindset that many in the media do. Now, John Fetterman's actually critical of it. There's so many people that disliked Musk, hated Musk, now loving it. And I understand it. Political nature, right? You're liking that the guy that was so close to Trump is now attacking Trump. But I have not found his statements to be anything more than kind of a tantrum and not overall impactful, other than the media make them impactful by covering them 24/7. But to me, I don't know. I think Trump is laying low, like the one viewer had suggested. But maybe we'll see different at that press conference. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I agree that the Biden statement doesn't sound like his style of speaking. Perhaps it is robot Biden doing it. Has anyone checked Disney's Hall of Presidents to see if one is missing? Thank you. Enjoy the Belmont. You enjoy the Belmont as well. Everybody hit it big out there. And you'll have to let me know how you did on Monday. Now, Trump did accuse Musk of going crazy. Then he started talking about maybe taking away some of these government contracts. And that did not help Tesla. Tesla shares plummeted by 15%, wiping $150 billion in market value and cutting $20 million from Musk's wealth. Now, if you see the kind of the braggadocio or the bravado in some of Musk's tweets, which is, okay, fine, take away the EV. I don't even care. Take away this, or I'm going to take away this from the government too. And you still got to lose a little sleep over losing $20 billion, wouldn't you? And that's why I had mentioned earlier, there are many Tesla donors that are not what you would call happy about what is happening. Longtime Tesla supporter Rose Gerber, an investor and longtime supporter of Tesla, recently took to social media to criticize Elon Musk for attacking Donald Trump after previously helping him win the election. Gerber sarcastically said, "This should work out well for Tesla, I'm sure. Amazing, Elon now attacking all the people he helped put in power. This should work out well for Tesla." After he supported the end of all EV benefits under the current laws, along with supporting an administration directly opposed to Tesla's success. He's selling stock and living the good life. The evident sarcasm in the post underscores the frustration felt by some Tesla supporters regarding Musk's contradictory political opinions. Now, the connection was made by politicals saying the legislation terminates, that's a big, beautiful bill that has led to this big, beautiful brawl, terminates multiple tax credits that Tesla, as one of the largest electric vehicle manufacturers in America, currently qualifies for a $7,500 federal tax credit for new EVs. The $4,000 credit is used for used EVs and $1,000 credit for level 2 charger installation. The bill would also impose a $250 yearly federal registration fee for EV owners only. If the bill is passed as currently written, Tesla's $11.4 billion in regulatory credits could expire at the end of the year 2025. Those credits, meaning this year, those credits contribute to Tesla's profitability in the first quarter this year. So many are speculating that that's the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, that's when Musk kind of had this breakdown, if you will. GOP lawmakers believe that Musk went too far, and that's when they found themselves needing to pick sides. Representative Pat Fallon from Texas said, hopefully we never have to answer questions about tweets like that from Elon again, that these comments are not helpful. Elon crossed the line today, said Chip Roy. And we can go through some more of what Musk, that's specifically in reference, they thought there was going to be kind of a end to this war of words, and there's people behind the scenes working on it to get kind of Musk and Trump, talking, and then he dropped what he calls the big bomb, which was about Epstein. Still not a breaking story. I'm confused by that, but that's when many decided that he had gone too far. There was just no need for this, said Troy Nellis. Those conversations should be taking place behind closed doors. Representative Randy Fine said, what I would say is if Joe Biden had Donald Trump in the Epstein logs, there's no question it would have come out during the campaign. So I don't know what's prompting this. I think it's all unfortunate. Representative Tim Burkett questioned why Musk would let his young son, nicknamed X, around Trump if he believes he was closely associated with Epstein. That's a very good point. Yeah, again, that's why I think he's in over his head in this kind of war of words, though he is very good. He's long-time history of being contrarian, long-time history of trying to say shocking things. I'm not saying that, but I don't think he was ready for that one big bombshell. Could be wrong. Could have happened while I speak. But that's why I think he thought that was going to be the final jab. So much so that kind of, and I say this in kind of a laughing way, but that I guess you could say Elon Musk's ex, no, not Twitter, the mother of his child, Ashley St. Clair, tweeted out, hey, Donald Trump, let me know if you need any breakup advice. Kind of signaling that perhaps she had witnessed this in her personal life. But we're going to get to your comments when we come back. I'll take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Some people who need Social Security disability benefits go to their hearing alone and get turned down. Not every lawyer will appeal a denial after your hearing. I will. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. I help people win benefits by appealing their denials, including in federal court. But your time to appeal is limited, so call my office now.
Lockman & Gordon, 1-800-698-0567.
Attention, it's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta. A day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th, 2025. Race starts at 2 p.m. On your mark, get set, row.
Since 1983, Nissan has been assembling award-winning vehicles for you, right here in America. And we're committed to keeping our lineup affordable and free from new tariffs. That's why we've lowered MSRP on our best-selling Rogue and Pathfinder. So you can get the car you want, at the price you want, knowing Nissan is here for you at the Nissan Summer Sales Event.
Now get 0% APR financing for 60 months on the 2025 Nissan Rogue or Pathfinder.
First you hear it, then you feel it. That's the crunchy, melt-in-your-mouth feeling of Ritz Toasted Cheese.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here, Marcus Street Recording. We're going to get to your comments in just a second, but I just happened to see that there is an update on Musk and Trump. President Trump and Elon Musk are slated to speak privately today as the commander-in-chief tried to downplay this breakup. And this is, I know that's what the term the media is using, breakup. But this is what's been speculated on the program all morning long, which is this is not the typical Trump. Yes, he's had his few digs in there, but not to the level he normally would. And so the thought was, and many of viewers said it in the 6 o'clock hour, maybe he's, and this hour I suppose, saying maybe he's taking it lightly because he doesn't want to completely burn these bridges and go scorched earth, where Elon Musk, more in his knee-jerk fashion, did go, or potentially go scorched earth. And again, to my point in the 6 o'clock hour, that shows, I think, he's not brilliant politically. He's brilliant as an individual, but political smarts is a completely different thing. But we continue with what the president said. He said everything's okay and he's never done better. Regarding Elon Musk, a White House official confirmed the two men would speak later Friday without giving an exact time. News of the call, first reported by Politico, came as Trump also tried to downplay his very public breakup with his once close ally Musk. Oh, it's okay. It's going very well. Never done better. The numbers are through the roof. The highest polls I've ever had, and I have to go, he added as he touted his ratings. This all could have been saved, but I hope that Musk actually takes the breather. But I don't know. It's a very strange time. Okay, now let's go to the Student Senior Services Fund section of our program, where we read your comments. One viewer says, I get the idea that Rick is not a fan of my president. I think, Rick, I don't always read the comments mentioning you, but I don't think you would mind that one. Rick writes in, Frank, myself, I don't care for Musk and the whole Doge disaster. He hurt a lot of people, but I thoroughly enjoyed Trump and Musk duking it out. Classic. Have a good one. Thanks, Rick. The big, beautiful brawl, as Mark so astutely put it. Jack writes in, pardon me, is wondering where was Elon Musk when the big, beautiful bill was being written? Seems like it would have been part of the Doge program. Perhaps the time to have objections would have been when the BBB was being written. Now, he presents it as if he never saw it, but he may not have seen the original House bill. I'm not sure, but that had to go to the Senate, and we know there's going to be changes. So from the time it went from the House to the Senate, why wouldn't he have studied it? To act as if it was a secret. Well, it's not a secret. I mean, it's out in the open. So I was confused by that response from Musk. That's why I don't believe Musk has handled this remarkably, but I understand what Rick's saying. If you're not a Trump fan or you're not a Musk fan or both, you've got to be watching this with a bowl of popcorn. And that's why the mainstream media is going to be talking about this ad nauseum. And I know we're talking about a lot here, but we're offering the correct perspective. Allies tried to broker that Trump-Musk peace, and it sounds like that might have made some headway, and they may be talking later today. It was really the Epstein post that created the cutoff from getting a meeting going originally. Several people familiar with what was happening behind the scenes, and mind you, this is coming from CNN, so take it with a grain of salt, who were desperately making phone calls to one another and trying to tamp down the feud, described that Epstein tweet as the tipping point, fearing that there was no going back after Musk's loaded accusations about the president regarding the so-called Epstein files. While Trump and Musk had largely argued over policy, it had now turned personal. And that, I like the way that that's worded. That's when it really went to kind of the low road, where I think many people were quickly disappointed with Musk. Officials in the West Wing spent most of Thursday glued to their phones as they watched the battle between the two play out on X and Truth Social. Several aides were sending the updates in group chats, liking it to a divorce, and commenting that they expected this would happen, just not this soon. I thought maybe August, said one person. Carolyn Levitt called Musk's claim an unfortunate episode. That's, yeah, a lot of people have related it to a breakup, a divorce, playing out in real time. But how much damage could technically Donald Trump do to Elon Musk as they talk about government funding? Well, if nothing else, Tesla stocks dropping out of fear of retaliation by the Trump administration. The risk of damage is one reason that Tesla shares tumbled 14% yesterday. So we've heard the number 14 to 15%. It's not just Tesla that could be at risk. SpaceX depends on government contracts for a significant share of its revenue. And you've got to think SpaceX and Musk's dream of going to Mars could have been ended with this tantrum, with this attack. It's something, again, I think it shows you, again, that lack of political smarts, because he didn't take a breather and he kind of, he didn't see the forest for the trees, let's face it. And he could have cost himself a lot of money, not only money, but his dream of going to Mars, dream of some of these SpaceX programs, Tesla programs. A lot of money. And if you recall, way back in the day, it was people like the late Rush Limbaugh and others that were pointing to the fact that much of Musk's money and success came from the taxpayer. But Musk faces possible investigations of his own activities from agencies such as the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is looking into whether he violated rules when purchasing his initial stake in X. Trump appeared to be threatening that he could take some actions against Musk, as he posted on Truth. The easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do that. To which Musk replied, again, showing that, and I just can't think of a better word than tantrum, but that just gets better and better. Followed by 2 laughing face emojis saying, "Go ahead, make my day." I think you're biting off a little more than you can chew if you're Elon Musk, because it's very easy to have that bluster on X. It's not so much when you start looking at, for instance, SpaceX receiving $15.2 billion in contracts from NASA, as well as a $5.8 billion contract with the Department of Defense. The list goes on and on with this money. That's why Tesla's stocks plummeted. Tesla investors getting more upset by the day. We got to take our last break. Get your last minute comments in. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize what time it is. We're almost through with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Hi, this is Till, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Elmira Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
If you or loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security. We are out of time. This is unbelievable. Where did the time go? Thank you for joining us as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Last comments from viewers. Our way out the door. Mark says, I hope Trump and Musk work things out. Frank, you have a great day. Thank you, Mark. You too. Comment from a different viewer. Not a surprise to we who spend our lives in business. Putting on your Kevlar suit every day and smile is standard operating procedure. The business partner of today. That is just the way business people are in their defense. If they weren't ruthless and self-centered, they wouldn't have been great successes. Thank you very much. And finally, have a great weekend, Frank. Thank you. You too. And tell me again how Frankly Speaking ever was just 1 hour long. Time flies. It sure does. Speaking of which, completely out of time. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And we'll be back Monday morning with Frankly Speaking. I look forward to it already.